with that down, let's talk about this, shall we? There's a lawsuit right now going on between a couple of fans and a video game manufacturer of a game called The Crew. I remember The Crew. I don't know that I ever played The Crew, but there it was. But it's kind of now becoming symbolic of a larger philosophical and legal question that's going on in the world of film fandom as well as game fandom, which is, do you and should you actually own the media you buy? Now, obviously, this has been a question a lot for people who buy their films digitally. I have still not had any issues with any of the movies I've bought over the past 10 years, but some people have. But it's also a question for people who even own physical copies of stuff. The thing at hand here, according to IGN, is Ubisoft's The Crew lawsuit insists that we do not own the games that we buy. Now, I want to get into the meat of it here. I'm going to read a little bit at length, and this is video game. We're going to talk about how this all connects to movies as well. The end of last year, two gamers took Ubisoft to court, stating that they had been under the impression that they were paying to own and possess the video game The Crew instead of paying for a limited license to use The Crew. Now, you got to understand, they bought a physical copy of this game, but they can no longer play it. Because in order for the game to work, it has to connect to Ubisoft servers. They have discontinued it, and now they own a paperweight. Doesn't do anything for them. So they brought them to court. Anyway, it continues. Imagine you buy a pinball machine, and years later, you enter your den to go play it, only to discover that all of the paddles are missing. The pinball and bumpers are gone, and the monitor that proudly displayed your unassailable high score is removed. The initial lawsuit read. As spotted by Polygon, the claimants accuse Ubisoft of violating California's false advertising law, unfair competition law, and Consumer Legal Remedies Act, as well as common law fraud and breach of warranties claim. They also suggest Ubisoft broke California state law around gift cards, which are not allowed to expire. All right. Now, Ubisoft, without reading through all of it, their basic response is this. We made it very clear that you are not buying the game outright. You are buying a limited license. Actually, in California, under the governor here, they passed a law where now even like Stream Deck has to put, you probably noticed this if you've gone to buy games on Stream Deck. They now have to put up clear language. You're buying a license. You're not necessarily buying the game. You're buying the license. And this lawsuit could be a game changer one way or the other. If this court, and I have no reason to believe they will, but if this court were to say find in favor of the Platons, which again, I don't think they will, but if they did, that could send shocks through the home video, home entertainment, and video game industry, and people are gonna have to start changing the way they do it. But now let's bring this all into the idea of movies. I think all of us acknowledge that when, say, we buy a DVD, we don't own the movie. I mean, if I owned it, I could make as many copies of it as I liked. I could take it out onto the street and sell it to people for $5 a shot. I could take the video from it, put a different color on it, and resell it to movie theaters and say, this is my movie. So obviously we know that pure total ownership has never been part of buying a game or buying a DVD or buying a VHS or Blu-ray or whatever. Like, we've always known that. But we have, as consumers, always had the impression that once I buy it, it's mine to keep. You can't come and take it away from me. But we've been seeing more and more that companies like the idea that they can. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Hungryroot. Okay, so I'm sure you guys can all relate to this. Spring hits and suddenly life goes from like 0 to 100. Busy season is officially in full swing over here. And honestly, who's got time to go grocery shopping? That's where Hungryroot comes in. See, because Hungryroot is like having your own personal shopper. I told them my goals and they started curating groceries for me that actually fit my life. Be it smoothies, snacks, salad kits, even ready to eat meals. All clean ingredients, no artificial junk. This week, I got the grilled turkey tenderloin with pesto grilled veggies and it was amazing. And I got my usual protein-packed snacks. It's like they're learning my taste better than I even know myself. And the best part is, I don't have to waste time driving to the grocery store and wandering the aisles. That's time I can spend doing literally absolutely anything else. Guys, I love Hungryroot. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/Campea and use the code Campea. That's hungryroot.com/Campea, code Campea, to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/Campea, code Campea. As a matter of fact, Rob, it goes beyond video games and movies. I own a couple of Teslas. Something I feel very mixed about lately, but I've owned them for years, so whatever. But I own a couple of Teslas. Do you know what would happen to my cars if suddenly Tesla shut down business tomorrow and they turned off their servers and they turned off their way for the car to communicate with the thing? I would own bricks. I would own bricks. I don't even think the car would run. And like, there's now printers. Hey, did you see these reports? Like, there's lawsuits going on because printers now won't work even if you own the printer and you bought the ink and all that kind of stuff. Oh, you didn't pay your membership fee, and they can digitally from a distance tell your printer not to work. And it won't work for you, despite the fact that you bought it and you bought the ink and you did all that kind of stuff. Or if you put different kind of ink in it. No, you didn't buy our ink. We're from Seattle. We're going to turn off your printer. I mean, it's becoming a bigger thing. But in talking about the movies, they even introduced, I remember at CES a little while ago, I can't remember which of the companies introduced, and they were going to show it off to the studios, a disc player, but your disc player had to be connected to the internet. And what would happen is when you would put in a disc, the disc player would read some metadata on the disc, communicate that to the servers, and if the studio decided, no, we don't want that movie out there anymore, even if you own the disc, your player wouldn't be able to play the disc. We are becoming a subscription-based society in many ways. So anyway, Rob, look, we have no answers for this right here, right now, but I mean, we're looking at this lawsuit that could have major implications depending on how the judge rules. Is this just something, is even physical media becoming doomed to die? This. How do you see this, and how important do you think this case is?
Well, I think the case is really important, actually. But, you know, it first started with computer software. You know, obviously Adobe, if you want to have an Adobe subscription, a Microsoft Office or whatever subscription. And it used to be that you'd buy a disc and you would own that disc and you could use the program for however long you wanted to use it. And then the computer companies said, nope, you buy our software from us and you pay a subscription fee. That way they're always going to get you. There's nothing they can do. Oh, yeah. Nothing you can do.
I've given Adobe thousands of dollars.
Which is why I like DaVinci Resolve. But anyway, yes.
But yeah, I mean, and I understand why they're doing that. It's a good business model, and they're always updating their software. But when it comes to things like games, and look, I can't stand in-game purchases. They really put me off. It really put me off video games. I mean, I have a PlayStation 5 and I have an Xbox X, and a lot of the games, like I remember being excited for the Hot Wheels game that came out, but you couldn't get past the first level without paying money to upgrade your car. And I'm like, this is no fun. It's not. But I get it. I get it's a way of making money. But at the end of the day, look, as a large physical media collector, like you just pointed out, if you have a Blu-ray player or a 4K player, you still have to update your firmware. It's basically a computer. A Blu-ray is basically a computer program.
Yeah.
If they wanted to, they could shut you down and make your physical media not play. I mean, you can disconnect your player from the internet, but it might not work if you don't upgrade the firmware. So I understand where it's coming from. And we're in a transitional, eventually everything's going to be digital. It's all going to be a subscription service. I understand that. But right now, I think this game that they bought in 2009, the fact that it doesn't work anymore, when they bought that game, there was no expectation that it would stop working.
That someday they would just turn it off. Yeah. And what's that?
Well, I was going to say, like, if they made it clear that it was just a license to the game, I imagine they charged $50, $60 for the game. Why not? Why charge that much then? I mean, like, or give the give the consumer an option to, if maybe just charge them, like $15 a month to play the game, right? But at least
but they don't. They're not going to do that because
if your game is shit, people will only play for a month and then never play it again and cancel their subscription.
Remember, just a year or two ago, Spotify made that in-car physical do thingy that you'd put on and became a physical thing that you could play that you pay. I can't remember how much it cost. It wasn't cheap. The problem was it's completely connected to the online service. And Spotify decided like 4 or 5 months after they sold them, we don't want to service that anymore. And they turned it off and those devices became bricks. Now, I think Spotify did offer, in their defense, they offered refunds or stuff like that. But again, it's just another thing that even freaking all this stuff, like
My beloved Zune.
yeah, I still got my Zune, baby. But there's been this kind of refrain that, well, one of the reasons why I don't want to buy digital is because I want to have a physical copy, so it'll always be mine. That ain't the case anymore.
But,
even if you have physical copies.
I think the problem with this game too is like it was so heavily dependent on the internet. Like I remember Halo 2. There's these two players that stayed in a Halo 2 match. They left their Xboxes on just because the server was going to shut down. So they continued to keep their Xboxes on, and they were on there for a long time, and then they eventually got off, and then there was no more Halo 2 online play. But you could still play Halo 2, the single player game, from the disc, and so you still had the game.
You
right?
still had single player game, but again, even then, they can now digitally tell their machines if they want to, don't allow these discs to operate.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. So it's going to be interesting to see how cases, I don't think these guys are going to win this case. I hope they do, but I don't think they will. It sounds like they did follow the laws, and the laws has got to be changed. I think the laws have to be changed.
One of the things in there that I thought was interesting, in the state of California, gift cards don't expire.
Yes.
And they had that in there. They're like, that's part of it. Like these, you shouldn't, how can these game licenses expire just because you don't want to support them anymore?
Yeah, which makes it tricky for game companies, because like if you're making games where those games rely on you to continue to pay money to operate servers and all that kind of stuff, at some point might not want to run it. So it's this is why I like standalone games, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, question is for you. What do you think about this whole mess, and how it could affect your personal library of things? Will it influence how you make purchase decisions moving forward? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.